If you're over 40 and you're struggling to lose weight, there's a good chance that you're focusing on the wrong things. Most people in this position immediately try to eat less, do more cardio, or skip meals in order to get results. But the frustrating part is that the people I see get the best, most sustainable results, especially in my own one on one coaching program, rarely do any of those things. And this is actually really important. Your body doesn't know that you're trying to lose weight. It simply responds to the signals it's receiving. And if those signals are scarcity, your body is going to go into conservation mode. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 habits that feel healthy but are actually pushing your metabolism into fat storage mode and exactly what to do instead. I always tell my clients that we do weight loss backwards. You're a high achiever, you're used to hard work, more hours, more intensity, yielding better results. So it makes sense that you'd apply that same logic to your body. If I eat less and move more, I must lose fat. But the body is not a machine working in a vacuum. It's a biological system that is constantly prioritizing survival. When we consistently demand more output with less input, we're essentially triggering a scarcity signal. And when that signal is persistent, your body doesn't just lose weight, it downregulates your thyroid, it slows your metabolism, and it starts prioritizing fat storage. So let's get started with the first mistake that actually creates more metabolic friction than most people realize. The first mistake is skipping breakfast as a default strategy. Now, I'm not saying intermittent fasting is bad, but for many high achievers over 40, it's not the right option. Here's why. When you wake up, your cortisol, which is your body's primary stress hormone, is already naturally at its highest point of the day. It's meant to be there to wake you up. But if you're already under high stress from your career, your family, or your environment, that cortisol doesn't always drop efficiently. If you then skip breakfast and push your body into a prolonged fasted state, you're often just keeping that cortisol elevated for even longer. The downstream effect is that elevated cortisol disrupts your blood sugar regulation, which can lead to increased cravings later in the day, poor sleep quality, and it can make fat loss significantly harder. The better approach, instead of forcing a fast, focus on breaking that fast with a high protein meal. This signals safety to your metabolism, helps regulate your blood sugar, and actually supports that cortisol drop. The second mistake is believing that fasted cardio is the secret to fat loss. I hear this all the time. If I train fasted, I'm burning fat directly, right? In theory, yes, but in practice, again, for a high achiever over 40, fasted cardio often increases muscle wasting signals. When you exercise in a completely depleted state, you're asking your body to do a lot of work with very little fuel. If you don't have enough muscle mass, and remember, muscle is your metabolic engine, your body might choose to break down precious muscle tissue for fuel instead of using stored body fat. And this is a big one. If you're already prone to high stress, that fasted session can sometimes act as an additional metabolic stressor rather than a restorative one. A brisk walk after a meal is almost always going to be superior to a high intensity fasted workout for your metabolic health. Mistake number 3 is the classic trap of extreme restriction, specifically trying to live on something like 1,400 calories or sometimes even fewer. I have clients who come to me and they've been in this cycle for years. They're eating almost nothing and yet the scale won't move. Why? Because the body's incredibly smart. It has entered a state called metabolic adaptation. Think of your metabolism like a fire. If you stop adding wood, the fire doesn't keep burning at the same level. It shrinks to stay alive. If you eat 1,400 calories, your body will adapt to function on 1,400 calories. Your energy levels will drop, your training intensity drops, your recovery slows down, and you become metabolically flexible, but in the worst way. The goal isn't seeing how long you can go without eating. The goal is to create an environment where your body feels safe, nourished, and able to function properly. Often, I actually have my clients increase their calories to kickstart their metabolism. And it sounds counterintuitive, but it makes a massive difference. Now, the final mistake is overdoing high intensity interval training or HIIT. HIIT is great in the right context, but again, if you're already stressed, if you're not sleeping well, and you're adding 4 or 5 HIIT sessions a week on top of everything else, you're adding an immense amount of metabolic friction. Too much high intensity work creates massive amounts of inflammation and demands immense recovery capacity. If you don't have that capacity, that training session isn't leading to fat loss, it's leading to more inflammation, which can actually increase water retention and stress hormones, making you feel puffy and unfortunately stuck. Instead of harder is better, think consistent is better. Focus on resistance training to build that metabolic engine, which is your muscle mass, and fill the gaps with restorative movement like walking. Most people are trying to solve fat loss by forcing it harder. More cardio, less food, more restriction. But the answer is often improving the context. If you're ready to stop the dieting cycle and start working with your biology, I'd love to help you. Check out the links in the description to learn more about what I do. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel and like this video. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, like always, please just put them in the comments and I'll make sure that I get them answered.